All right. Welcome everyone to Between Dimensions with Twin Essence. I'm Lacey and I'm Marley, and we're your Starseed Lightworker hosts. As collective ascension guides, we are always navigating our 3D and 5D worlds. In other words, we're between dimensions, learning to embody our multidimensionality just like you. During Between Dimensions, you get the best of both worlds. 5D conversations in a 3D format. Tonight, we are joined by Christy Jewett with Messenger of Spirits. Christy is a light language messenger, spiritual channel, and multidimensional energy healer. We are going to be digging into Christy's spiritual journey, her work as a light language messenger, and all of the nitty gritty details of her work and her journey. Welcome, Christy. We're so excited to talk to you tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We're going to dig into the hard hitting questions first. So, the spiritual prompt tonight is, what is one spiritual trend or rule that you think is absolute BS? Viewers, you can answer in the chat or you can put it in the comments if you're going to watch the replay later. Christy, we're going to start with you first. What is your answer to this question?
I really get a little bit fired up when people talk about dark entities and how, like, dark entities attach to them. I don't believe in dark entities. Yeah, so this is a big one. I know it's going to be fiery for people, right? But I really believe that, like, we create our realities. And I don't believe in giving any power to dark entities.
Oh my God, this makes so much sense that you said this now because the entire time, Lacey had this question picked out, right, for this interview. And we kept talking through different things that we thought, to answer. And for some reason in the back of my mind, I kept thinking about like our paranormal origins and how like the paranormal industry, there's just so much in the entertainment industry that makes it appear so dark at times. And they're
Mhm.
always broadcasting about the dark side of energy and the dark side of the paranormal. And so that makes total sense that you said that now because that is so true. I mean, I do think there are darker spirits or more negative energies based on our experiences, but I do think we are sovereign in our energy, and so how we choose to let things impact us is totally up to us.
Yeah, and when you think about energies also, is it just confused energy? Is it how we perceive the energy? Is it have we just are we projecting something into the experience with the energy? I think there's a lot of things that you can unravel around that. I used to be scared by I grew up in the church, so felt that there was demonic energy because that was spoken about so often. I used to bolt down the hallway to my parents' bedroom thinking I was being chased by demons, things like that. Like, so I've had the experiences now, but I also can look back and see how, like, that was conditioned. It was really conditioned beliefs for me. So, and
I
I have been in a home that was very, very, how would I say? It was, occupied by many, many spirits. And so I encountered many of them. And there's times that, yeah, they've totally freaked me out. But again, it was like a squeeze of the hand. Like when it's dark and they squeeze my hand, or I wake up and they're breathing over me, like, yeah, that can be terrifying. But as if I unravel my conditioning or was out of the shock or allowed my nervous system to settle down, it wasn't negative or dark at all. But yeah.
I love that hot take. I was gonna say something lame like you are required to meditate like 10 minutes a day at least. Something like that. But I think the dark entity one is a really good one. I think there's a lot of like misconceptions about that in the spiritual industry. Like once in a while, we still will have someone like comment on something and be like, I just want to warn you, like that star being might be pretending to be a star being, and like you need to be very, very careful. And I'm always like, okay, I don't need a random stranger warning me. I think I know I'm okay. We just got that the other day, actually, and I was like, delete. Like I was like, I can tell it's a star being. Thank you for your concern, sir. It's usually a man that says it. Yes. Yes, and I think that like our origins being like in that more paranormal, and like we did a lot of house cleansings in the beginnings,
Yep.
and we used to have clients that would book us for a house cleansing or like a cleansing of like their business space that they owned, and they would always tell us some like crazy story of like a customer came in who told me they were sensitive and had abilities, and they told me that there was a dark entity in the back room that was trying to attach itself to me. And I was always like I think almost every single time we had a client that booked us saying that, like that was never the case when we picked up on things energetically. I was like, nope, nothing dark here. Like,
I would love to have a much longer conversation and get your guys' take on it as well, because I have not experienced nearly as much paranormal experiences as you guys have had. But yeah, it's an interesting one. It's in my experience and the many encounters I've had, it just has not been the case. And again, just believing so strongly in the sovereignty of our own energy and being able, like, light is more powerful than the dark, right? So
yes. So let's dig into your origins. Can you tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey and kind of where it started, how it started for you? Is it something that were you always connected to your abilities? Did it happen later? Like kind of give us the insider scoop there.
So I came in and, like, now that I understand that I'm a Syrian star being, I can see it now in my younger years. I understood the matrix from a very young age, and I remember when somebody told me that wasn't the truth, I was devastated, like what they saw, right? Like I was like, "What? I don't understand anything." So now looking back, I can see from a very young age, I understood things. But that probably it was about six that it started. That was my very first encounter with a spirit guide. I did grow up in the church, and so that spirit guide presented as Jesus. And when I met Jesus, I knew who he was. I was like, "Oh, hey, I know you." Like as a 6 year old, that was my response, right? And I was just very naturally like, "Oh, yeah, I'll follow you. You're a good guy. I know you." Like it was this very childlike, innocent understanding. And then it was probably about when I was 10 that I really started to connect with my guides, starting to hear them and starting to clairvoyantly, like in my mind's eye, seeing them. So if I was going through a problem, I remember very distinctly, Jesus sitting on my bed and us being able to telepathically communicate with one another. And so when I went into my teen years, I used to sit every morning. I was an odd child, but every single morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, I would get up and I would sit with I would call it the energy of the Holy Spirit. Now I just understand, like sitting with my spirit team, and I would just journal any wisdom or guidance that they would bring to me. And then later in my teens, I started like supporting my friends because I would get a lot of intuitive information for them. And I would say we were praying, I would just always know exactly what they needed or how to kind of support them. And so this was how it was showing up. And then into my early 20s, I started to really have some prophetic visions and start really seeing things clairvoyantly. But because it was in the container of the church, I just thought that everybody heard Jesus. I really honestly did not understand that, not because I'm like, my faith was just that strong. It had always been that way. When they said, Jesus says, I'm like, yeah, like I hear it. And it was funny how long it took me to realize that it was not actually the case for everybody. Anyways, transition into my 30s, I went through a very difficult divorce, and it really shook up my world. It shook up my belief system because being within the church, there is a lot of you're in a box, right, around how beliefs work, and I started to really begin to question things. This is, I guess, what I would call the beginning of my spiritual awakening. And it took me about 10 years, I would say, to begin to like expand that container and be able to see spirituality outside of the religious context. And I actually had to step away from working with Jesus and my spirit team because I couldn't understand how to put the two things together. And then I started to do some energy work with people. And then I had a psychic tell me that I was psychic. And I remember at the time being like, absolutely not. There's no way I could do what you do. I had lost complete trust in my intuition, but that sat with me. And so eventually I started to work with subconscious, like working with my subconscious and training how would I say it? Just techniques to work with my subconscious. I would go into what I call my landscape, and I'd really begin to start connecting with my intuition again. Started reading some really wonderful books that started to speak about multisensory gifts. And then, without having a clue what Reiki was, one of my sister-in-law was going into a class. She invited me to come, and I was like, sure, I'll try that. I didn't know what it was, where I was going, what I was doing. Went to the class, and then in the 3-week attunement, my psychic gifts just completely opened up. And so I was an esthetician and owned a spa for about 20 years. So I started taking Reiki and doing facials and Reiki and putting them together. And what I discovered, because when I was using my hands, doing thousands of facials, they just knew what to do. But what it did is it opened up my channel. And all of a sudden, I was just getting all sorts of intuitive information coming through. And then that led me to doing my mediumship training and just like lots of psychic development. And then it just kind of expanded from there, learning to read the Akashic records. And I just began to understand how deeply connected I am to spirit guides, especially, and being able to connect with my guides as well as other people's guides. So that was kind of how it all came about.
So you mean Jesus doesn't sit on everyone's bed when they're kids? I,
Apparently not.
I, I'm just imagining you being like, I thought everyone had a direct dial for Jesus. Like, what do you mean he doesn't come talk to you in the morning too? That's amazing. So I am curious, because you talked about how you always had an understanding of the Matrix as a kid. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, like your definition of the Matrix and what that was before like society crushed you.
Yes.
It's such a like a when you think about like the age you were, like that's
Yeah.
such an impressionable time, like to not be fully programmed. I feel like not as programmed maybe as like your teen years maybe.
Yeah, and I can't remember the exact age. I'm talking like 5-ish kind of age. I remember being in my bedroom. I remember finding this out and I remember bawling. I was a very sensitive child and I was really really upset about this. But so keep in context that this is a child's perspective. But I remember my mom coming in and telling me a story about somebody or something. And I was like, "Wait, things happen when I'm not around?" Like I literally had this idea that like this was my play. And so people came alive when I was around them in the play with
Oh,
them. And so
wow.
we created the experiences. And so, like, this was my idea of how life worked. And so, all of a sudden, when I heard that there was all these other, let's call them plays going on without me in them, I was like flabbergasted. Like, I was, apparently, I thought the world just revolved around me. But this is how I, as a child, kind of understood. Like, I really thought, like, this, it was a play that we were acting out, and this is when I came around then everybody came alive. So that was my childhood view of the Matrix.
But I think that's really like insightful and important just because like it's your childhood perspective. But I do think viewers will resonate with that and they might be able to see parts of themselves in it because we often do have a version of ourselves that is more pure before like before society like crams in the like programming and all the like beliefs and expectations. So I think that's a good example of it. It's also like a lesson in creation. I
Yeah.
feel like because even though you like the child version of you felt crushed, like what people exist outside of me, at the same time, like as much it's oh my gosh, it's such a double-edged sword because like at the same time you're thinking it's not real, it's also like but you are creating it. Like and that's I feel like what you learn throughout the path you walk with spirit is like I am actually creating this, but at the same time like there's like a million other creators out there that are also creating, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. And that my childhood brain just couldn't wrap her head around it. And I think that was part of why I was so drawn to the church because I needed some black and white. And I now understand like that Syrian part of myself too, like liked things to be very clear and direct. And I think I got incredibly, I remember being incredibly overwhelmed by this whole thing. And I needed like a container to be within so that every like gray was just far too scary for me, right? So I can see why I took the path that I did in those younger years.
And you talked about owning a a spa, you were an esthetician and you owned a spa. Do you
Yeah.
feel like, and you kind of started that journey with Reiki and facials, do you feel like that occupation like supported you in opening your gifts when it was time to start that journey?
Oh, definitely. Well, first of all, I was so shy before I became an esthetician. I could hardly talk to anybody. And so that forced me, like, you have to greet a client, and then owning the spa, like I was in charge of everything. You had to make people feel comfortable. And then I had this really being intuitive. I would be able to connect in with people's energy, and they would always leave feeling better. And I didn't understand what that was. But especially when I would do a facial, people would get off the table and they'd be like, I don't know what you did, but I feel so much better. And I do remember, I didn't understand energy work, but I would feel something in somebody's body and then I would clear it. Like just the way that I would move my hands, like I would could just kind of flush it out of their systems. And so I didn't realize that even at that point in time, I was shifting energy and helping to support people with their energetic bodies. And I think, especially doing a facial, I did a lash extensions as well, but you're always in the crown, working in the crown so often. And people would open up to me and we'd have beautiful conversations, right? And I would always try to, bring the positive side, and again, even then, bringing just kind of intuitive information in through for them. And I think it definitely prepared me for what I was going to do in later down the path.
So, okay, you talked about like I think it's fascinating that you were very shy and that like the that this helped develop those skills and like bring out this different side to you only because you're a light language messenger now. So so it has me thinking like what was that light language activation like for you? Did that bring up feelings from like the previous version of yourself who was more timid or afraid to speak out? Did it help you work through it better? Like what does that look like? What did that look like for you?
Okay, so my very first encounter with light language would be speaking in tongues in the church. And I remember I never spoke in tongues. And I remember desperately wanting to. Like I was like, but I'm a pretty authentic person, so I couldn't fake it, right? Like I like wouldn't allow that. But it never came through for me. But I remember being absolutely fascinated by this. Fast forward 20 years, like my light language just activated. I'm at about a year, almost at my year anniversary of when it activated. And I was obviously doing my spiritual work, but I kept feeling like there's something missing. There's another level. There's somewhere I'm supposed to be moving towards. And I didn't know the how of it. But I kept getting drawn to working with past lives. I knew that there was something within the past life and working with like the subconscious and connecting with past life and beginning to clear and bringing forward gifts from past lives. Then I saw someone online who was speaking light language and I was like, I am so incredibly drawn to this. And so I started listening to her light language, listening to some activations, and my light language did not activate at the time. But then my guide that I've been working with quite closely presented herself and I recognized that it was Isis. And she's like, we've got work to do. And I have never worked with goddesses or priestess energy prior to this. I had no idea. So like I was really coming from experience, not from like prior knowledge. But she came through and she said, we have work to do. And after that, I had an Akashic record reading, and the Sisterhood of the Rose kept coming up, which is like quite connected to the priestess lineage. So when in this Akashic record reading that had come up, and I was really, really curious about it. So it was about a week later, I went into my Akashic records, and all I asked was, tell me about the Sisterhood of the Rose. I was on the acupuncture table at the time, and the acupuncturist had left the room, so I was like on the table. And then all of a sudden, light language just dropped in. It was coming out of my mouth. I was speaking it. I could understand exactly what I was saying. I was asking questions in light language, that I was responding in light language, but it's like I was having this dual conversation happening. And I knew it was Syrian, was the other piece. I didn't know why I knew it was Syrian. Like it was just absolutely fully activated. And there was like it just wouldn't stop. It was like turning on a tap and it would not stop. And so I was on the table for about 45 minutes. This happened for 45 minutes. I hear the acupuncturist coming back and I'm freaking out. And I'm like, all of a sudden, like super quiet. She walks in. I feel like I was like a kid cat with my hand in the cookie jar or something, right? Like I was just like, oh my God, what just happened? It was the wildest experience. The next session that I had, I luckily was working with somebody who I knew quite well, and I just said, I've had this experience. I don't know what's going to happen when I'm like channeling for you. And sure enough, the light language started building up, bubbling up, and it just literally blurted out of me. Like because like it would there was so much pressure there that it wouldn't kind of stay contained. So speaking to this piece about being shy, I didn't get like I guess I could have had a say, I could have shut it down, but I was very open to wanting to kind of move forward with my gifts, and I knew there was this another layer coming, and so I just had to allow it to flow. And then I went on a vacation for a couple of weeks after that. And the light language just wouldn't stop. And I was told that I was just like training my frequency or upgrading my frequency. So if I wasn't speaking it, my hands were moving. If my hands weren't moving, my feet were moving. Like it just, all the codes were just coming through. And I had like 2 weeks to flesh it out. But I had to work through a lot of visibility blocks and past life around visibility for me to be able to show up fully, like online. I could do it in my sessions, but being really visible with it took a little bit of time. And I definitely had to, lean into doing some of that clearing so that I could fully show up with it. And it's still evolving. Like even just this last week, we've evolved to even another level with it. So I'm really excited. It's fascinating. But definitely something I remembered. I can speak multiple different forms of light language. I don't know why, other than I was shown like that I was an emissary and had been in many different kind of star systems. So like almost like a translator picking up the different languages. So it's interesting. I can hear other people speak light language and I can know the dialect that they're speaking as well. Not always, but a lot of the time. So, but nothing I could have trained for.
Love that. So a couple things. Did you have like prior knowledge and experience with any kinds of star beings that made you like recognize the light language when it came out of you, or did you just it was just like an immediate knowing?
Not really anything like other than maybe like hearing you guys talk about it a little bit. I actually probably prior to this would have said I am not a star seed. I don't resonate with star seeds. I feel very comfortable on this planet. Like I didn't have any real draw to even. I remember there being a star seed deck, and I was like, nope, that's not for me. Like of cards. So I'm often like this though. Spirit has to like literally throw something in my face sometimes for me to accept it. So, yeah. But no experience. So that the fact that I knew I was speaking Syrian to me was absolutely shocking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then your okay, so the visibility blocks. I wanted to talk a little bit about that because
Yeah.
I would imagine because light language it can look really different, right? Aren't there a lot of different forms of it?
Yes, yes. And they can all sound different too. And what I was really confused by this when light language happened for me, or um, dropped in for me, I like went down the rabbit hole, tried to find out as much as I could about it. And there's not a lot out there. And then there was some light language that I was like, oh, I really don't resonate with that, And then there was others that I'd be like, oh, yes, I resonate with this piece. It was very interesting. And so I had to rely on my guides a lot. And so they explained it to me. Light language can sound so different because if you think about, like, let's say I spoke French and English and German and Spanish, and that would create a very really unique accent, right? And so that's why the dialects can sound really intermixed as well. So that's one piece of it. And then the other piece is it's really the language of the soul. Like it's bringing through a frequency. So the frequency that I might be bringing through for my client, it's what their soul needs to hear. It's what their soul will remember. Or there could be something in the tone of the frequency that is going to kind of support releasing whatever block is there. So that's why it can sound so unique and very different. And then I think it's just like how we all channel differently, right? It comes through unique to each of us?
I think so because Marley and I don't have a ton of light language experience. And I've been having more light language experiences recently. As you know, Christy, because we've worked together in
Yes.
activations. But we had one the other week with an Alpha Centaurian um star being, and I spoke some of it in the session just because I was like, I don't really know what this means. I just know that like they want me to tell you it. I was like, hopefully this makes sense to you, kind of thing. Um, and it was, you know, it was really hard to do because it was like the first time I'd done it in a session with a client. But for me, it was like the way I was channeling it and to push it out of my like physical body felt so awkward.
Yeah.
Like I felt like it didn't sound nearly as good as it was when I was like receiving it and then I was trying to push it out to someone. And it reminded me of my experience with quantum healing hypnosis, so QHHT.
Hmm.
Because when I did do QHHT, which Marley and I have both done, and I was like purely channeling during it, I remember my like higher self telling me during it, like, ah, it's like hard for us to find human words to say some of these things. Like they were telling me how difficult it was to find the right language to say out loud in my like human body. And in general, QHHT for me was a very like multisensory experience because I was speaking like purely channeling and speaking out loud to the practitioner, but I was also receiving like information in here that was like that would match and collaborate with what they were saying. Like they showed me imagery, like they would like it was like this weird like third party in your body experience. I don't know how else to describe it to people.
Yeah.
Um, and so I wonder if channeling light language is just kind of similar to that level of frequency when you're purely channeling like your higher self in that type of session.
Absolutely. It is a higher frequency. It comes through the casual chakra. So you might feel a lot of pressure kind of like in the back of your head when you're channeling. And I didn't again know about the casual chakra until I started working with light language. And I would just be like, oh my God, why do I feel so much pressure in the back of my head? And the other piece, like to me, it's a little bit more like if I were to hear it in my head and then speak it out, I don't think I could get the words formed properly, right? Because it's just and the other piece, a lot of people will ask me like, can you translate that? And I'm like, well, I can translate the frequency. And so I've started doing that sometimes. Like this is the overall message. But for me, and I don't know how it is for other people, but it's not a like this word means this and this word means this. Like that's not how it works. And so for myself, I have to like step aside and just allow it to move through me. And that's kind of how I see trance channeling. I'll tell you a funny story. This is probably a month into my light language activating, and I was moving offices. And I walked into this space that I didn't know was going to be my office at the time, but I walked into this space, and all of a sudden, all this light language comes channeling through my mouth, and I'm just standing there and I'm speaking it out. And I could see myself kind of in the back of my brain. I was cooking eggs, and I'm like, hey, there's eggs on the stove. Like I'm in the background, like we gotta go get the eggs, like. But that's what it feels like when I'm like fully in the channel of light language. Like there's no Christy getting in there to analyze. And so in your experience, the more that you can try to let Lacey step aside and just allow it to move through. And if you don't, you'll feel the pressure. If that's all the best way to explain it. It's just like this building kind of pressure. That yeah.
A great example.
Yeah.
No, that totally makes sense. It's a and it's also like it speaks to the multidimensionality of us, right? Like it's something that has to come through the channel, not something that has to be translated through the logical mind. It's that linear thought process of input to output that we get
Yeah.
stuck in as humans, where it's like we expect this clear-cut translation, when in reality it's like it comes to you and you're like, well, I kind of know what it means, but word for word, like that's not how this works.
Well, and it
Yeah,
took me a
and
long, sorry.
no, you can go, you can go.
It took me a long time to let go of that piece. I was like, and in the church, they're taught with tongues that you're not supposed to speak tongues unless there's an interpreter there. And I just recently met an interpreter, like someone who hears my light language and knows what I'm saying, and that had been the first time. So I think like some of these gifts, but I do understand that if I was able to interpret every single word, I would get in the way of the frequency, right?
Yes.
That linear brain would just kind of cause a problem.
That's so true. And I think
Yeah.
that like when you reach these different like frequencies and levels on your journey, like there was a time when I was probably scared shitless to channel star beings for people and it would come through in sessions. That's how we obviously moved into what we were doing because it's what we were meant to be doing. But like I think it's just another layer, right? It was like they were like pushing me they were like pushing me down the slide of like you better say this shit in the session or like we're not going to stop saying it to you. And I was like, "Oh man, I felt like that kid that was like I felt like when I was first learning mediumship when it was like you have to say it or they're not going to let it go." And I was like a little bit fighting it like, "But I don't know what it means. How do I bring it up? Like this is gonna be weird." And then I just had to like do it and
Yeah.
be like, you got what you needed from that and like trust that it was what she needed. Um, yeah, so it was really, really, really interesting, but it's exactly like you said, like I'm cooking eggs, like I don't you have to like step aside to just let it flow through you and not be in the way of it. I do want to ask you though, because I do know you do work as a hypnotist, correct? I want to ask you about some of that work too.
Yeah, so
And
I'm my quantum healing hypnosis technique. That's the one I'm taking my training. I'm not fully certified yet, but I have done the training with it, and it's been fascinating to first of all just to do the training and be in that frequency. I felt the frequency from the time I started the work. I was just like, wow, there is something here. Um, yes, and it's changed the way that I work. And I don't exactly know how that's possible, but just like being in the frequency of it has shifted the work that I do. And now, without even trying, people are going very like deep into these into their subconscious, right?
going
So
to say, like, as somebody who's been hypnotized multiple times, unintentionally, like by Christy, it's an amazing, honestly, it's such an amazing modality, I think. Like, and it has evolved so much since it was first created, I think, for humans. Like, I think about the beginning where it was like people only like never remembered anything to like now people it's more of like that channeling experience but like you do still have those like blackout moments where you're like I don't know where I went but it just fascinates me how that works.
it is fascinating. Yeah. And I think the more that we do this work, like, I think we're just so open to, like, because a big part of, like, being able, it's to allow ourselves to relax, allow ourselves, and we're very connected to our multisensory gifts, right? And so, like, with quantum healing hypnosis, like, a lot of it is like, you're seeing, they want you to be able to see things and start like really being in the experience of the past life that you're going into. And because of the work that we do, we already are very attuned to working in that way, using our clairvoyance and our clairsentience and all these different things. And so I think that's why it's such for those that are in this field, that it's so easy for us to go into those states. And you're working in these dimensions already. So for you to connect with your higher consciousness, you're often connecting with your higher consciousness already. So you're like, this neural pathway, I know how to do this. Let's go, right? It doesn't need to it's not, whereas there's other people that still have a hard time kind of getting out of their linear brains. And by no means am I an expert in this. I'm just, training, but it's definitely fascinating to watch, like the difference of those that have that hard time stepping aside, just like we were talking about. Yeah.
I have to add this in too. Sorry, Lyron, you have to sit down for this one. Um, because two Syrians in the room right now. Like, um, but and I know, Christy, I know you know this too, like from your connection, but I have to say this too for the audience as well, as a Syrian starseed and as Christy being a Syrian starseed here, a lot of these themes too that are coming up throughout your story and what you're going through even now with like QHHT and talking about the linear thought process, like stepping aside, being a channel, those are such Syrian traits, right? Like it's such a Syrian challenge to I don't want to say to control, but it is a Syrian trait to step into QHHT because by our very nature, we know how to ask the questions and we know how to take people on odysseys. Like I do starseed journeys. That's my version of odysseys. Like QHHT really is a version of that for Syrians. And then like just the side of it where we can get really trapped in our analytical and our logical thinking. I always say like we're the ones trying to do the negotiations, trying to create the map in a war, versus like Lyrans are the ones saying charge front line, like it's like everything that Lacey and I channel right now collectively, like Lacey's guidance from her star family is like, yeah, it's this image of like I'm riding the horse through battle, and like mine's like, well, my image is I'm standing on top of the castle telling all the archers to draw back right now. So it's like we have a complete like our imagery is always like so related, but like it just shows the nature of our origins. So I just had to point that out because it's like whenever I'm talking to you, I just like it just shines through so brightly, like the Syrianness of your
Oh,
story.
I can't wait to learn more and more, about it. I feel like I'm like, oh, I want to learn this and I want to learn this and squirrel, squirrel. Like there's just so much. So it's always fascinating to hear about, because I wouldn't see that myself in myself. So it's really neat to hear. Like that's where that comes from, that piece that yeah, definitely. And when I see myself in my Syrian origin, like I see myself and I was like this oracle in a way, but I was able to like just see really, really far. And I would like analyze things. I would analyze what was happening in all these different places. And then I would come back and like bring the wisdom of like, like that was kind of what I see myself like in my role. Yeah, so that it's fascinating. Yeah, can't wait to learn more.
I will say, just because Chrissy's not going to say this, but like because we are in her Living in the Light program, and it's all these different like activations, and I mean I call them activations, but there has not been one there has not been one activation yet that Marley and I have not gone into like deep theta on where we don't remember everything.
Yes.
Um, because you're just such a natural at it, like you don't even realize how good you are. And I can't anticipate it. Every time I start a session, I'm like, I'm gonna remember this. And then it'll be like, yep, I come to and I'm like, yep, I saw Isis on the stairs and I don't remember anything else. And it happens really quick. Like that was the best part about like the week 2 session is like because like I remember like blacking out and then like coming to when you were talking about like you're laying on this rose quartz table and then it was like hearing everybody else who also were like, yeah, I think I just remember waking up on the rose quartz table. It's just hilarious.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear the transformations you guys are all getting, right? Because I guess that's the benefit of QHHT when you're speaking it out and you can hear the experience that you're moving through. But I always stress that you'll receive what you need to receive, right? It'll come through. You might get a flashback of like, oh, that was the journey at some point in time. I'm very excited to kind of see in the next few weeks. I always find with hypnosis, I have sessions of hypnotherapy at least once a month, and I always notice that it usually takes like 3 weeks for like the full integration, and then I'll be like, oh, that thing that I was working on, it's gone or it's shifted, and but it'll be really, really these subtle changes that happen. So yeah, you guys will have to keep me posted.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think about when I did QHHT, I remember I remember telling my practitioner who I hadn't met before, just telling her like I don't tend to follow the rules. Like I'm probably gonna jump right into this feet first. She's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then like after my session, she was like, I've never had anybody do what you did in a session. Like you didn't follow any of the prompts and rules. And she's like, and you went under like immediately. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And I was like, I told you, I warned you this was gonna happen. So I'm not surprised that like during your activations, I'm like, just doesn't take me a lot to get there. I think it just happens really quick when it's that right energetic frequency. And but I love it. Like I love that about it.
Well, yeah, and I can see when I'm in the sessions, and I've often have said this, I'm like, oh, some of you are going to go on a star journey. Like, and I'm like, I'm almost like, see you, Lacey, see you, Marley. Like, I know you guys are, but So I don't know, like I can, it's almost like I can feel the energy step in, and it's like you're going to be off doing your own journey. But it's really been interesting in my practice sessions with QHHT. Most of my clients are going to not human incarnations already. And I think that's coming out more and more and more. People are really, or maybe it's the people that are attracted to me that are discovering their starseed lineages or these lifetimes in other places. So it's been really fascinating to be on the other side, kind of hearing their experiences in these um, different dimensions.
It's amazing. I mean, it's part of that collective ascension process. I'm not surprised at all because that's just where we're going right now as a group. Like all of the there are so many starseeds out there finally awakening to it, and like most things that we do on our path and in our lives, like we have to they design it in a way to make us feel comfortable, right? Like for you, Christy, like it's very obvious, like where the way things unfolded as they did, so that they didn't, um, you weren't shell shocked and put into a trauma, like you know what I mean, having things happen, right? And so that
Yeah.
happens to a lot of us on our path. But I think right now, like QHHT is a beautiful modality to make people feel more comfortable with recognizing their cosmic origins, right? Um, it's it's becoming more and more common for that awakening process to occur.
And what a beautiful way to have it where you hear your own yourself. You don't have to trust that, you don't have to believe just because I've said this, but when it comes from your mouth, your voice, or so, I've seen a lot of people there, they will speak with accents or in different sound like than what they would normally, and seeing that, it just helps the belief factor to understand like Christy didn't just say this, I said this, right? And so
Yeah.
important to kind of listen back, and to anchor in that belief, because it's pretty remarkable when you experience it. I remember the first time I saw myself blue with this huge jet, like I was like, what is that? Like not having any understanding, right, of what star beings were. It was pretty hard to conceptualize at the time.
Yeah. And have you had anybody speak light language in sessions before or not yet?
That is starting to happen. Yes. Yes,
Okay, I got
it
nudged to
is.
ask you that.
I would say, like, if somebody came to me and asked if they wanted their light language activated, I would not say to, like, I can take you through the journey of soul remembrance, but I don't, like, I do feel like your soul has to remember it. And I know there's other people that out there that do teach it. That's not something that I'm doing at this point in time, but I do feel like even for yourself, Lacey, I think like just being in the presence of light language, hearing it, the soul remembrance, kind of doing that past life work, bringing things forward, like I'm not surprised at all. I feel like for both of you, it will be something, but that will come through if you had the intention and desire for it, right? So I think it's um, I'm just hearing the guides speaking about that it's so connected to intentionality. And for me, obviously, from the time I was young, like hearing speaking in tongues, I was fascinated by it. And when I first heard it on Instagram, I was like, what is this? I love this. Like, I was really drawn into it. And I think for those, I have a lot of people that say, like, why do I feel like I remember this? Right? It creates that memory from having spoke it or been in that energy or that frequency. Sorry, that wasn't really eloquent, but I hope I'm getting across.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think naturally I'll probably be the first one to like do it because as with everything with Marley and I typically go first and then like Marley's like, "Oh, now it's safe for me to try." It's like how our dynamic works. I mean, I remember being in Scotland and being like, "All right, put me in, coach. Let's do the sensory deprivation." And it was like the first time I had a spirit like channel through me. And she was like,
Oh.
"What is wrong with you? You did that in front of all these people. They were filming you." And I was like,
No,
I
you like
don't
shut down.
but I also shut down. So I was like, it's fine. It was not a positive spirit. But it was a really negative human spirit
Yeah.
that was a prison we were at. So he was very angry. And then it was like that was the first time I experienced that weird channeling thing of like you're the third party in your body and your spirit team's like, get out. And he's like, I wanna stay. It was the whole thing. Um, okay, I do want to shift to a spiritual game of Would You Rather.
Yay.
It should be fun. And has not seen any of these because she let me create the game unsupervised and did not review any of it. So, so I will just preface everybody by saying you put a liar in charge, you don't know what you're gonna get. All right.
So this, I'm just gonna, can I ask a question before that we start this? Because
Yeah.
this is very interesting. Because like Lyran, when I bring through Lyran, it's usually like a lot around like the courage. And that's what you're speaking to. Like it's like, let's get in the game. Let's go. Let's do this type of. Whereas like when I bring in through Syrian, and it's very much more like, let's speak to the soul. Let's work this out within you. Let's kind of like in a very, very different approaches. And is that kind of how you
Yes.
guys see yourselves as well?
Yes. Yes. I always say like Syrian's like the elder that's like, oh, there's a way we can do this. And like the Lyrans are like very emotionally driven. Like they're just more prone to like take the action and not like take all this time. Whereas like the Syrians like we gotta work on all these things first and then we'll find the best way possible to do this. Yeah, I think Christy, you said that in a much more positive way of saying it's
Yeah.
courage. Marley, Marley just ribs the shit out of me and gives me all the crap, being like, "Oh God, you never think things through. You just go do it." Listen, there is divine inspiration, inspired action behind it all. I just don't feel as it is like the courage. Like I don't feel as held back by like what it looks like, what it sounds like. I'll just like jump into the pool and I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
guys, come in. Like,
And that's
try
how
it out. That's always how I describe it. Like, Lacey's gonna jump in, and like, I'm gonna be like checking out the shallow water, seeing the temperature. I'm gonna be like wading in, trying to make myself optimally comfortable for the experience ahead in the pool.
Amazing. Amazing.
I
This will
love it.
help. This will help when I feel the energies come in and be like, oh, I know what we're doing here.
Okay, so let's start off with a couple easy ones, and then we're gonna get into some harder ones. I did review these, okay? They're not inappropriate. Anyways, okay. So let's start with would you rather physically see spirits or beings, or would you rather hear them? Mutually exclusive.
So I am strongly clairaudient and I love it. So I'm going to say hear them.
I agree with that. I like hearing them too. I think that I'm more visual, but I think I'd be more comfortable hearing. I think that if I just saw them and didn't hear them, I'd be like, what do you want? Like, okay, cool, you're in the corner again. You know what I mean? Like, I told you not to come in here when I'm sleeping. Okay, here's another one. Would you rather have a disruptive spirit in your home or have a spiritual attachment that follows you everywhere you go?
Oh,
Maybe
wow.
Christy doesn't believe in attachments.
I know. I'm like, hold on. I got to like connect in and
Christy's like,
see.
actually, I think I've had both. No, I'm just kidding.
You know, what comes to mind, I'd be like, shoo, get out of here. That's all I could think of. You're not coming with me anywhere and you're not going to be in my house. And I do have someone in my life who is strongly clairvoyant who does see sometimes there are beings that are in my house still and they don't bother me. They bother her because she can see them. They don't bother me, right? They're not doing anything, like my house is very protected, right? So
Mhm.
anyways, that
I,
didn't answer your question. I don't know.
I do.
Maybe in my house.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like either of those, like, I'm like, I could clear it, but also,
Yeah.
like, in the house, like, if they're not causing you harm, like, I don't see what the big deal is.
Yeah. And I
Okay,
can
this
leave
one,
my house and get peace.
yeah, yeah. This one's a fun one. Would you rather get stuck in the fairy realm or travel to inner Earth? Oh my God, that's a hard one.
Oh, fairy realm. But I don't know anything about the inner earth.
I Oh man, I don't know. I feel like I'm too curious about Inner Earth. We're gonna have to do episode. Sorry, that just came to me. I'm like, we're gonna have to do a channeled episode on Inner Earth then. Yeah. But I actually think so. Fairies were like the first thing I started seeing on my awakening path. So I feel like I would choose. God, fairies get down. I could totally do the fairy realm.
They
I
tend
think
to
they're
be
fun.
pushy too. Have you ever noticed that with fairy energy? I'm like,
See, I feel
wow.
like I always get like the playful, like I just feel like they're just I don't know, they're just enjoyable beings to me. But like I do know what you're saying, like they can be very sassy.
Yeah, yeah. Like whenever I channel them, they're very light, very playful. So my hands even up here, right? Like they're very high vibration. But when they're working with people, they're like, let's get to it.
Yeah, I think inner Earth is it's an interesting topic. I don't even know if I know how to describe it off the top of my head, but that's a good thing we should talk about and do a episode on. Um okay, would you rather live on a ley line or have a portal on your property?
Well, I've had a portal in a house I lived in,
Ooh.
so a portal was not bad. I don't know what it'd be like to have a ley line.
I think like I guess I don't know. Well, okay, so I've experienced ley lines, like buildings, like old ancient buildings that have ley lines, and like we experienced that in Ireland, and I
Mhm.
was like, I could never sleep here. It was so intense. It was like energetically, like just it was like it collapsed the veil. Like you felt like I could see things, they're like touching me. Like it just really like energetically, it was so
It
disruptive
was
to me.
intense. It was very intense. I don't know how I feel about a portal though. Well, I feel like the ley line wouldn't be functional for me like living wise in the 3D, but like portal wise, like if I knew where it was, maybe it wouldn't be maybe it wouldn't be a big deal.
Well, with the portal, they're just coming and going, right? There's just like a lot of activity. So as long as you're not trying to engage with all the activity, it
Was
wasn't,
it
yeah, I didn't find it too
was
bad
your portal in your house or outside of the
in it.
house?
It was in
Okay.
the
Oh,
house, yeah.
That's so
interesting.
interesting.
And it was not my house, so I couldn't close it like it wasn't.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Hmm. I like immediately like flashed to Jack Osborne and Katrina Whiteman, and because they had a TV show, a paranormal TV show
Love that show.
called Portals to Hell, and so it would every episode it was Jack Osborne going, "Is this place a portal to hell?" And so Marley and I always quote that
I was
just
like,
because
it
of
was like
that.
the intro to the show.
So like honestly, like that's a normal quote in our daily lives. Like we'll be like, like if we go somewhere new, we'll be like, "Is this place a portal to hell?" It was just like the dramatic name of the show. It was a really good paranormal show, but that was like the dramatic name they gave the show, and it made me laugh. Um, okay, okay, let's see. I got some fun ones. Okay, would you rather know the exact date of your physical body's death or the exact number of times you've reincarnated?
Oh, the exact number of times I've reincarnated.
Reincarnated. Me too. Me too. I like the way Lacey's like, this is a fun one. Would you want to know the time you die? Like, that was funny. But yeah, I would want to know the number of times that I've like been incarnated.
Yeah, for
That'd be
sure.
cool. Yeah. Yeah. I would never want to know. Why would you ever want to know when your physical body's gonna die? There are some people out there like that though. Like I
yes.
think about like early in the spiritual path where like there are people who won't see a medium because they're like, she's gonna tell me when I die. And I'm like, that's not really how it works, but you do you. If we only had that power. Um, okay. Would you rather be able to see everyone's aura all the time or be able to hear everyone's spirit guides whispering to them all the time?
Oh, see their aura. It would be way less disruptive.
I, you know, I love auras. Like, I'm not someone that like goes into a room and just automatically sees someone's aura, but I feel like that'd be amazing. Yeah, I would do auras.
Be a really
I also
colorful world.
Yeah, I also like wonder though too, like this is I'm not an again, no, not an aura expert here, so now like Lacey and I are gonna have an aura expert on. Um, but
Let us
like
know in the
'cause
comments.
I always think like, auras are so visual to me, but I also wonder if it's not more of like a feeling, Like I wonder if it's not more of like because I feel like I feel into people's energy, like you can feel, so I just kind of wonder, like for me, it's just not visual.
I think that that's exactly what I'm getting is that like as a clairsentient you would feel someone's aura, as a clairaudient you could hear someone's, you'll hear like a frequency or vibration or something like that. Clairvoyant you'd see it. um I guess what's the one I'm missing? claircognizant. You'd walk in a room and you just know something about, and I think that's how you're interpreting their auras, right?
Yeah, I mean there are spirits that do talk about like hearing colors. Like that makes no sense, but like hearing colors, like it's possible.
I would say that I hear color. Like there's certain things that, like if I hear
You
something, it would represent a color for me. Yeah. I
really
can.
like what does blue sound like? No.
Blue to me, like, and this is, I would hear like kind of like the sound of an ocean, like that kind of
Mm.
Oh,
roar kind of sound of the ocean.
And
If
I
green, I hear birds chirping, like
mm,
things like
well,
that.
this is
Yeah, red,
fascinating.
I hear like I hear champagne bubbles when I see red or hear red. Yeah.
that's like whoa, I that's really cool because I've never thought about it as like hearing the color. Here I thought you were gonna be like, this is the pitch of blue.
And maybe there's some people out there that can do that.
Wait, red. Like that's red. I I immediately
Red
was
sounds like Ozzy Osbourne. No, I'm just kidding.
I it's no, it's just Ozzy Osbourne's laugh. Ow! Crazy train. What, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna start crying. What is the reference to Osbourne's night? I don't know. I love them. I love them. So I'm a fan.
Can't
But
take us anywhere.
but I also was just like I immediately like I think there's a okay, I think there's like an interview with I cannot think of the name. It's from Wicked, where they're like, "Oh, I like hear colors," and then, and then someone's like, What does the color this sound like?" And she like didn't know how to respond because she didn't know how to like speak about it. And I just was like, "Wow, this is an interesting concept," because I immediately imagine like green, and it's like, "I don't need that." I hear a song like
So for you, maybe it will be songs. Colors are represented in song for you.
I literally love the
But like
idea of
Chris
that though. Saying reddish, like red sounds like champagne. I'm like, damn, red's having a good time. Like, I don't know what, like that is like I love that. I love that comparison being made. Oh, I'm getting the giggles here. Um, but I think this is good for the next question. Yes. Would you rather live in a silent monastery or live in the middle of Times Square? Oh my
Oh my God. Silent monastery. Like being
Really?
clairaudient, sound can make me crazy. Like if there's an annoying
Okay.
sound. So definitely I'd have to choose a monastery.
I think I'd go crazy if it was silent. Like I'm not like a okay, I don't like overstimulation of sound either, but weirdly enough, I'm obsessed with Times Square now, now that I've been there. You're like just because it's Times Square. I don't know what it is. I'm like, I could just stand in the middle of Times Square. Like I just find it like
what if it was like Las Vegas, the strip?
I don't know.
That would be loud.
Okay, I've never been to Las Vegas, but if it wasn't Times Square, but it was just as loud of a place, I probably wouldn't choose that response. But because
Maybe
it's
not.
Times Square, I'm like, I'd get down with that energy. Like, I think I'd have a really hard time being silent. Yeah. Or like, I think the silence would, like, functionally day to day, I'd want the monastery, but like, I need to have some sound in my life.
Fair. That's fair.
Okay, I have two more. Would you rather, this one's weird. Can't. Would you rather smell like high quality frankincense no matter what, or it'd be a strong smell, okay? A strong odor of high quality frankincense. Or would you rather have your internal monologue broadcasted as a podcast for 1 full hour every day? I love this question because Chrissy has a church background. I also want to point out it's not that you smell like frankincense all the time. High quality frankincense. High quality. Emphasis on the high quality. And right when Lacey said it, I just smelled it too.
Oh,
And I've never had that. Like that just hit me. I was like, whoa. That's why I made that weird face.
okay. I think I'm gonna go with the frankincense. I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know that I would want anyone to have my inner dialogue.
I would totally take inner dialogue. I'd be like, sure, you can listen to my brain for 1 hour. It's not gonna be enjoyable, but you could certainly go there. It would be like it'd be horrible. It'd be like all these intrusive thoughts, just like it'd be like I'm sweating a lot, and then it'd be like also throughout the whole thing, like and also like it depends on like what hour of the day, right? But like you'd be like, man, like Monday through Friday, like the like Monday through Friday, hearing that recording would be so different from like a Saturday or Sunday right now. Just 'cause,
Yeah.
like the day job, they'd be like, why is she? She's still thinking about this. Like you know what? I would like my internal monologue during a Harry Styles concert broadcasted. That would be okay. That would be acceptable. Actually, no, that would really expose you. That would tell. No, I feel like you like PR in me says that's not a good idea. I think it would be relatable, but that's just me.
The fact that these
Okay,
are the questions that you come up tells me a lot about your inner dialogue. It's awesome.
yeah. That's the whole point here, right? You're gonna learn a lot. Last question. Would you rather have a 1 hour conversation with your future self 20 years from now, or a 1 hour conversation with your most prominent past life self?
Oh, that's a
Hmm.
good one.
Hmm.
Oh, that's a tough one. I think I would choose the version 20 years from now version. I think I would,
Oh, too.
yeah.
Me too. It's just
Yeah.
like I feel like that like connecting to your higher self and connecting to your future self is so powerful. Past life is too, but I just feel like your future self holds so much wisdom of like already like navigating all these challenges that you're currently going through. Like I would
Yeah,
love
and
that.
it's in this incarnation, right? Like it's great to get the stuff
Yeah.
from past lives to bring forward or to clear, but that your 20-year version from now version of you really understands you, right? And exactly everything that you're going to move through. It'd be amazing.
I feel like connecting to the future self in a weird way, I feel like that brings you more to the present versus the past. Like, I feel like it's easier to connect to the future self and still, like, figure out how to integrate in the present versus, like, the past life self. It's like, not that you mean you can still integrate into the present, but it's more like retroactive. It's more like, oh, and there's that pattern that's showing up again to clear versus the future self of like, you'll get over this and this is where you will be. So then you're like, I can hold that highest vision to work towards
Yes.
it.
Yeah,
Hmm. Okay,
definitely.
I do, as long as you're okay with the time, I do want to ask you one more question before we close off because
Yeah.
I forgot to ask it to you during the interview. But I would like to ask you, since we do a ton of work surrounding mission and purpose, I'm curious what you consider your mission and purpose in this lifetime to be.
Well, it's Messenger of Spirits, like my name that I go by, my business name, is connected to my mission. I have always felt this deep calling for people to understand that they're not alone and that they're connected to something so much bigger than themselves. And so, bringing through that connection, helping people connect with their essence, that light version of themselves. And when I say light, I mean that essence, that divine essence within. And that's what drives me to do what I do. I want people to be able to connect. And I recognize when I'm connected to source in this way, like how much impact it's had on my life and the way that I've lived and then just moved through this journey. And like, it's just the most, the juiciest part of life for me, right? Like, and I just want everybody to understand that, to know that they're not, like, they have help, they have support, they're not alone, and there's so much power that's within them. And my name, actually, Christine, means messenger of God. And so this is like the whole, like, I feel like this is my mission, to help people to see their source and God energy within them. Yeah.
Beautiful. And how can our guests or audience get in touch with you? How can they reach you and connect with you?
So Messenger Spirits on Instagram at Messenger Spirits. I'm on TikTok as well. And then my website, messengerspirits.com as well. So that's where they can find me. Yeah, and I work with doing like single sessions, I'm doing group programs or journeys now as well. And I also do like mystic mentorship. So that would be for those that are like highly intuitive, that just want to really work with their gifts, learn how to connect with their spirit teams, kind of understand the different modalities, working with their subconscious, learning how to read the Akashic records. It's kind of like a really high touch container to support them in their mystical or spiritual development. So that's kind of how I am working right now, and I'm about to launch another program in April called the Living Temple as well. And so this is bringing about like we are the living temple and trying to support, or not trying, helping support women, accessing that divine essence and being able to live in that being the temple, that they are the temple. All the wisdom, all the healing, everything lies within. So I'm really excited about that as well.
Amazing. And as individuals who have worked with Christy, we highly recommend her programs as well as her light language sessions because they are so helpful and transformational on your journey. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I've loved working with both of you. I've loved learning so much about the star beings from you, and thank you so much for having me here. And this is an awesome, fun conversation. I love it.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. Make sure you check out how to connect with Christy and how you can work with her. It's all linked in the video description below. And if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. You can also connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Twin Essence LLC. And if you're looking to start your star seed and ascension journey, we always recommend starting with a twin magic reading to uncover your lineage as well as your mission and purpose. And that can be booked at twinessence.com. All the links are in the video description below. We will be seeing you all on Monday at 6 p.m. CST, 7 p.m. EST with Laura Mesa. And we are going to be talking all about the alchemy of Egypt. So very exciting conversation. We will see you all on Monday.